Thank you to Duke University for being here and for putting on this event and choosing the National Aquarium to help celebrate its centennial and to really highlight the Duke climate commitment. I think it's really impressive, and it's really an honor to be a part of it. It's really an honor to be here with Joel to talk for a few minutes. I'd like to formally welcome you to the National Aquarium as one of many staff here. Our staff here are amazing. We work in many different roles, and we're just really excited to have you here and to come back to the aquarium or come here for the first time. So thank you for being here. As I was thinking about this evening, I got a little emotional because I think that, in particular, my years at Duke really laid a foundation. I've been very lucky and very fortunate to work in marine conservation and use my Duke double major for 20 plus years now in a variety of places in an interdisciplinary fashion. But it's really a foundation for the work that I'm able to do with partners like the Chesapeake Conservancy and many others. And it's very exciting. So I think if you want to talk a little bit about the Conservancy, and then we can talk a little about the aquarium. How would you like to do this?
Why don't you give us a better understanding of all the depth of the work that you do at the aquarium, just so they can appreciate all the wonderful things you do.
So could I get a show of hands of people who have been to the aquarium in the last year?
Wow.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Welcome back. Thank you for coming. For how many people is their first time at National Aquarium? Okay. Thank you for coming. We're very happy you're here. Like many of the leading aquariums around the U.S., the National Aquarium is a great place to see animals and habitats and connect and be inspired by nature. We do a lot of things besides be an aquarium, and that's really a bit of my role. I get to be involved in the stuff besides the buildings. The National Aquarium connects people with nature to inspire compassion and care for our ocean planet. For the past several years, our work is arranged around 3 large overarching goals: to save wildlife and habitats, to stop plastic pollution, and to combat climate change. So in addition to having this great place that I'm very excited for you to see and experience a little bit this evening, we protect and enhance and restore habitats, particularly around the Chesapeake Bay. We work with partners around the country and the Chesapeake Bay to educate, engage, restore habitat. We are the designated live marine animal stranding partner for the state of Maryland. So if there is a seal or a sea turtle or another marine animal that is stranded anywhere on the coastline of Maryland, we are tasked with responding to it. So we do a lot of animal rescue. We really highlight sustainable business practices. I'll touch on that in just a moment. And we do advocacy. We advocate on our goals. And so that's really my world. It's really a privilege to be able to work with Chesapeake Conservancy, many others, to try to advance policy change. And we do that in highlighting the work that we're doing in the aquarium with our practices around the Chesapeake Bay and the Inner Harbor, and policies that need to change nationally.
So I'm very grateful to be here this evening. My name's Joel Dunn. I'm the president of the Chesapeake Conservancy, and I graduated from the Nicholas School and the Sanford School. But I'm not supposed to be here because I was a blue-collar kid, and none of my family ever went to private school. From a broken home. My stepfather said I'd never get into Duke, and not only did I get into Duke, I tested out of the calculus requirement at Nicholas School, but I also thrived at Duke. And the school gave me all the opportunities I could ever dream of having. And I have used those opportunities to develop skills that I've applied in the conservation world and to deliver results that I'm really proud of. I think my mom will be really proud of me. Duke gave me superpowers, conservation superpowers. And while at Duke, I did an internship on Capitol Hill and wrote a bill that became a law for Senator Lieberman called the Long Island Stewardship Act, which was an amazing experience. And afterwards, I worked for Pat Noonan, who was a board member of the Nicholas School and is like the godfather of conservation. I worked directly for him for 6 years, and we founded the Chesapeake Conservancy. And since then, we've created a national trail, a national historical park, a national monument, a national marine sanctuary, which I'll get to in just a second, county parks, state parks, local parks. We've also revolutionized the conservation movement in the Chesapeake by delivering new high-resolution data using our GIS experts. And I want to say that I've hired 10 Duke students over the years. I have built a great team, 45 staff members, and one of my staff members that went to Duke worked for me for 9 years, so a good tenure. We have GIS experts, AI scientists, restoration experts, land conservation experts that work for us. And I'm really proud to say that I never would be here tonight if it weren't for Duke. I mean, they literally showed me where the silverware goes. I mean, I did not know before I went to Duke. And I got a Doris Duke Fellowship when I went there. And that's one of the reasons why I was able to go. I interned at Harvard Forest, and this professor, an undergrad, and this professor said, if you ever want to go to graduate school, go to Duke University and ask for Norm Christensen, who was the founding dean. And so I drove my truck down to Duke. I slept in the back of my truck. I came in the back door the next morning and met Karen Kirchhoff, who's since passed away, unfortunately. And she introduced me to Norm Christensen, and I've had this phenomenal career experience ever since. So my story, I'm really proud of the things we've been able to accomplish, and I'm really grateful to the school for every opportunity they gave me. And I'm grateful for your support, your continuing support for the school, because it means more kids like me from all walks of life have the opportunity to advance conservation in the ways that I've been doing in my career, and giving other people an opportunity and empowering others to advance conservation. I mentioned the Mallows Bay National Marine Sanctuary. This was a project we did with the Aquarium and others, and I'm proud to say it even got a U.S. stamp after the sanctuary was established. This is on the Potomac River, and it's got a bunch of sunken ships that make the bulk of the sanctuary. You can kayak around them, and when the tide goes down, the ships come up. It's so cool. But here's a cool connectivity story with Maggie. She's now on the commission running the sanctuary. So
running is thank you. Running is we help. So National Marine Sanctuaries, and it really is. It's such a partnership and implementation story, right? So Chesapeake Conservancy really led the way on helping get this special place designated. It's part of the National Marine Sanctuary System, which now numbers, I believe, 15 national marine sanctuaries around the country. And they are established by a piece of federal legislation that is just over 50 years old, called the National Marine Sanctuaries Act. And so Mallows Bay Potomac River National Marine Sanctuary just celebrated its 5th anniversary of designation. It was designated primarily for its historic contribution with the Ghost Fleet and this essentially World War I era set of boats that are now providing habitat for animals and species. It's also an area of extreme cultural importance for the Piscataway and Nanjemoy. And so my role, I've just started my second term as part of the Mallows Bay Potomac River National Marine Sanctuary Advisory Council. So every National Marine Sanctuary has an advisory council made up of people from local stakeholders and regional stakeholders who really care about that special place and want to make sure that we're connecting more people to it. So if you're in this region and you haven't been to Mallows Bay Potomac River National Marine Sanctuary, first and foremost, please go. It's a really magical place. There are trails. If you're not a kayaker, there are lots of walking trails. It's a beautiful place to just look out over the Potomac River. It's across the bay. It's across the river from Quantico, so that's an interesting point. So I think it's a really lovely place, and there's lots to learn about it. And quite honestly, I'm still learning about it every time I connect, either through a Sanctuary Advisory Council meeting or when I get to go there. And I really encourage people who haven't checked out their local National Marine Sanctuary, wherever it is, or started planning your trip to all of the National Marine Sanctuaries around the country, the way that people go to national parks. Yeah. Think about that, because these are places that they're essentially national parks in the coastal and marine environment. And they're really important, and they're really they're really special places, each in their own way. So please go to a national marine sanctuary or learn more about it virtually online and connect with your sanctuary.
So just to put it in context, the Conservancy and the community in the Chesapeake Bay watershed is a part of a 40-year ecosystem restoration project. It's one of the longest running and arguably one of the most successful ecosystem restoration projects in the world. When I got here and moved to Washington, D.C. after graduate school and after taking Pat Halpin's GIS courses, I realized that the Chesapeake Bay movement was not leveraging data analytics and GIS the way it could. So we started a Conservation Innovation Center. We've since then partnered with the EPA Chesapeake Bay program to provide high-resolution land cover data, hyper-resolution hydrography data, which is coming out at the end of September, which I think is going to revolutionize the movement. But also it's integrated into the fabric of the Chesapeake Bay pollution diet. So Duke's, inspiration with the leveraging of GIS has really revolutionized the movement in a sense by infusing those concepts and those technologies into the community here. So I'm really proud of that. We also are trying to preserve 30% of the Chesapeake Bay watershed by 2030, which is a very lofty goal. But believe it or not, 22.5% of the Chesapeake Bay watershed, which is 64,000 square miles, is already protected. And one of the ways we're doing that is by creating new conservation areas. This is the proposed Southern Maryland Woodlands National Wildlife Refuge, portions of 5 counties, a 550,000 acre acquisition boundary, which will be the second largest national wildlife refuge on the East Coast. And it is also adjacent to Mallows Bay National Marine Sanctuary. This is very near to becoming a reality, like within weeks. Yeah, so this is a big deal. It's something that we've been working on for 10 years, and we're really excited about it. Similarly, the Aquarium and the Conservancy have been working on a new national recreation area for the Chesapeake Bay, which is like a type of national park called the Chesapeake National Recreation Area, and it's gone through the Subcommittee on National Parks, and it is seeking a second hearing, a markup. So that goes to say it's close to being evaluated or voted by the Senate, voted on by the Senate. So this could become a reality. Senator Chris Van Hollen has been leading this initiative. So we could have a new national wildlife refuge, the first one since 1962, a national park recognizing the beauty and the national significance of the Chesapeake Bay, which we've never had before but wanted for 40 years. And that comes on top of the National Marine Sanctuary.
It does, and just hopefully most of you or all of you know this, but the Chesapeake Bay is the largest estuary in North America. It is, it is a very significant, important environment that is, it's culturally important, it's like ecologically important, it's biologically important. It provides, ecosystem services for, I forget how many millions of people.
18 million people.
Thank you. 18 million people in the watershed. It's 9 states. It's not just Maryland and Virginia and the D.C. area, but the headwaters of the Chesapeake Bay watershed are in New York. So it's just a massive area, and it's just really exciting to be involved in, these partnership efforts that could really, see more conservation and protection and connection with this environment that we all depend upon.
And what's cool is the aquarium is this inspiration, right? You come here and you see these creatures and you get so inspired to save them, to protect them. And then the aquarium partners with groups like ours, which are in the arena and, fighting the good fight, advancing policies or new refuges or new parks or funding for land conservation like Program Open Space in Maryland, which I've been the chairman of the Partners for Open Space or the vice chairman for the last 14 years, and it's going to come under threat in the Maryland legislative session. So I hope you'll stand up for it if they come to raid the money. But it takes money, it takes partnerships, it takes perseverance. I was talking to Toddy earlier about perseverance, and this refuge has taken 10 years. The park has taken 10 years. The National Marine Sanctuary took about 10 years. I mean, that's the time scale at which we're working on these things. And without the education and the Duke connections and the partners like Maggie, we never would accomplish these things. So it's really neat to see how Duke is influencing these major initiatives for the Chesapeake Bay, and I'm really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah. And if I could just, what I meant to say earlier too, just about the role of aquariums with partners like the Chesapeake Conservancy and other conservation organizations and businesses and others around the country. One of the things that I really am lucky to do is to get to work with a group called the Aquarium Conservation Partnership, which is actually now 32 leading aquariums and zoos with aquariums around the country that each in their own region are working with partners to advocate, to leverage impact, to mobilize audiences to take action, to really connect people with why watershed conservation and why ocean conservation and coastal conservation and freshwater conservation through the rivers that drain to the ocean. Everything goes to the ocean. So I think being able to work with aquariums and zoos around the country that are activating their audiences and sharing advocacy on these topics, like the 30 by 30 initiative, like increasing investment. I mean, the investment in National Marine Sanctuary System is minuscule in the federal budget, right?
Yeah,
and
it is.
A couple extra $1 million would go a really long way towards research and programs that connect people and camps that bring people to their National Marine Sanctuary or to National Wildlife Refuges or to national recreation areas or to national parks. That all takes investment from this federal and the state and the local levels, and to be able to work with partners around the region and the country to advocate for the public investment to go along with private investment is really important. Excuse me. And the last thing that I'll say about aquariums specifically, the National Aquarium, through this Aquarium Conservation Partnership, and specific to the Duke Climate Commitment, we have proudly announced as of 2022 that the National Aquarium will be net zero by 2035.
Yeah, that's great.
And over the past decade, we've already reduced our emissions by, I want to say, about 40 or 50%. Don't quote me, I'll check that number. But it's an energy-intensive operation. Aquariums, they require water, they require energy to be able to bring people here and to experience the aquarium. But it's very important that as businesses, as anchors, as community institutions, it's very important that we help people understand the need to walk that talk. I really, once again, just to reiterate, it's wonderful for you all to be here. And I think the one thing that we wanted to leave you with is as a Duke alumni community, keep supporting Duke, participate in the Duke Forever Learning Institute, continue to be the wonderful Duke alums that you are, and really channel that, if we can say it, the Cameron crazy energy towards climate action. Be crazy for climate action, and I think we can all get there.
I love that, Cameron Crazies for Conservation. I had one other thing I wanted to say is that all that's great and what we've done is great, but it's not enough. The world is in a precarious position on climate, equity, or biodiversity, so we need to do more. So I just ask you, in whatever capacity you can, to do more for conservation and more for the environment, whether it's creating new opportunities for young folks to get involved or whether it's engaging in your local conservation organization or helping the aquarium. I'm getting the hook from up there, so I'll stop talking, but I appreciate the opportunity to be with you tonight.
Enjoy the evening. Thank you for being here.